We didn't have a plan. There was no business model, no team, no budget, no investors. Honestly, we didn't even know we were making a game. There were just blocks. Primitive, square, with corners that cut into the eye. But somewhere among those pixels, an idea was hidden, quiet, but radical. What if we give the player complete freedom? No rules, no script, no boundaries. Just a world. And you are in it. Do whatever you want. Live as you want. Create or destroy. Everything is in your hands. We started in silence. Without a team. Without money. Without an editor. In a small room where the only sound was the click of a keyboard and the roar of coffee, insomnia, and doubt in my head. His name was Marcus Person, but the world will remember him by another name, Notch. Marcus wasn't a genius who woke up with an idea. He was an ordinary kid who wrote his first program at the age of 8. His father brought a computer into the house back when it was a luxury. And even though Marcus spent his life escaping into fictional worlds, the real world always found him. His childhood was not a fairy tale. His father struggled with addiction. The family was falling apart. And while other kids were playing ball, Marcus escaped into code. He learned Java. He built text games. Not for anyone. For himself. Because he believed that at least somewhere he would have control. He didn't need fame. He needed a place to hide. He got his first job at King. Yes, the same ones that would later make Candy Crush. But back then it was a different story. Different pressure. Strict deadlines. Simple mobile games. No freedom. No dreams. Just a task, a paycheck, another day at the office. After King, Jalbum, a startup that made photo albums. Again, not his. And every night, coming home, he would sit down at his laptop, alone, and build what he wanted to play. Without a plan. Without money. Just a world of blocks. Cubic. Raw. Empty. But there was something real about it. Back then, there was no name. There wasn't even gameplay. There was just hope. What if you give a person an empty space and see what they do with it? We tested everything on the fly. We created a world with grass, trees, earth, nothing special. But there was magic. Silence. The feeling that you are alone here, and this whole world is yours. It was not like other games. No goals. No instructions. Just live. And then, in May 2009, Marcus uploaded the first prototype of the game to the TigSource forum. The name? Minecraft, Order of the Stone. Long pointless. No one paid attention. Just a few comments. But one of them was different. It had just 3 words. This looks interesting. That was enough. The first players started building. Then, recording videos. Then, uniting in forums. We didn't even have time to release updates, and they were already finding bugs and turning them into features. Caves. Water. Monsters. Everything appeared in real time, under pressure from the community. But we didn't have time. We didn't sleep. We had neither an office nor a plan. Just a lonely laptop. And a crowd of players asking, more. And at the moment when nerves were starting to fray, when Marcus couldn't handle the responsibility anymore, the real challenge emerged. Monetization. How do you sell a game that isn't even a game yet? How do you make money without losing trust? He launched pre-orders. He simply asked, if you like it, pay. And people paid. By the hundreds. By the thousands. Not because it was a finished game, but because it was their game. Their world. And with the money came an even bigger problem. Pressure. He was no longer a lone developer. He became the voice of millions of dreamers. And everyone wanted something different. Everyone expected. Everyone demanded. And every second of silence was perceived as a betrayal. And every update was perceived as a blow or a victory. But the worst was something else. Deep down, Marcus knew that if the game got too big, he would no longer be able to control it. And then it would no longer be his escape. It would become just another office. Just another cage. That's when Mojang was born. The story continued. But it was different. More people. More responsibility. And the first internal divisions. We dreamed. We created. We lived behind the computer because believing in Minecraft was easier than believing in ourselves. But here's the paradox. When the dream finally began to come to life, we became more scared than ever. In the first few weeks after Notch released an early version of Minecraft in 2009, something strange started happening. People started playing. Real players. Not acquaintances, not friends. Strangers. They were writing comments, building things in pixels, sharing links on forums. And we, frankly, weren't ready for this. We're not influencers. We're not businessmen. We're just weird people with code in our heads. But the internet doesn't wait for you to mature. Every day, the server exploded with activity. People were breaking blocks, building castles, digging tunnels, testing the limits of the game in ways we could never have imagined. It was more than just an experiment. Minecraft was becoming a world, and we were its creators. And that responsibility was painful. Because growth isn't just about success. It's about fear. It's about running out of money. It's about comments on Reddit. This is a buggy game. This is complete nonsense. Where is our money going? People started demanding, getting angry, some were threatening. And the scariest thing was, we ourselves weren't sure where we were going. The first big challenge? Sales. They grew to 100 copies a day, then 500, then 1,000. But none of us had any experience processing payments. PayPal froze the account a few times. They thought it was a scam. They said, some guy from Sweden is suddenly making tens of thousands of dollars a day playing a game with square trees. They blocked our money. We had nothing to pay for hosting, and everything could collapse at any moment. And we weren't a company yet. We didn't have a legal entity. We didn't have an office. We didn't have a plan. Just a bunch of lines of code that we rewrote every night, over and over again. Because every update broke something different. And then we did something strange. We started sharing everything openly. Code, ideas, honest stories about our fuck-ups. We wrote on the forum, it's hard for us. We're still learning. But we're honestly trying to make the game better. And if you support us, we won't give up. And then something happened that no one expected. People didn't run away. They started helping. One designer drew a new texture. Another came up with the sound of broken glass. Players created mods, added monsters, invented new mechanics. For the first time, we felt we were not alone. Minecraft no longer belonged to us. But the more we built, the more we burned. Nodi worked almost without sleep, 20 hours a day, from a lonely room in Stockholm. And every day he became more tired, cynical, irritable. We had no release system. We had no testers. We were alone, against the whole world, waiting for the results. And when something broke, it was no longer just a mistake. It was a stab in the back. There were some nights when Notch would blog, I don't think I'll make it. I just wanted to make a game. But every time we were on the edge, someone would come along and write, I was going through the worst time of my life, and Minecraft kept me going. Thank you. It wasn't just a code. It became something deeper. It became our responsibility. Then came the copies. The plagiarism. The big studios started making their own Square games. Some looked better. Some sold for pennies. And we were afraid that we would just be wiped out. We had no PR, no budget, no protection. But we had a community. And when a major developer stole our mechanics and didn't mention us in a single word, hundreds of players wrote angry comments on forums, on Twitter, on the company's blog. Minecraft was first. And we know it. That's how we realized. We're no longer a team of developers. We're a movement. But we didn't know yet that the biggest challenges lay ahead. And some of them were not from outside, but from within. Because when a dream becomes a reality, the question arises, was it all worth it from the very beginning? We didn't realize it right away, but the biggest struggle in this story wasn't happening on the screen, and not on the servers. It was happening inside him, in his head, in his doubts, in a dark apartment on the 12th floor, where the only light was the monitor. When Minecraft suddenly started to grow, when the forums exploded with comments, and video bloggers started shooting the first videos with square pixels and enthusiastic screams, it seemed to us that everything was going like clockwork. A real breakthrough. Every developer's dream. But for Marcus it became a trap. An open cage, into which he drove himself. He wasn't ready. His nickname hadn't changed. Notch, as before, replied to every message himself. He would browse Reddit until late at night, reading everything. Criticism, bugs, curses, adoration. Minecraft had already ceased to be just a game. It had become a phenomenon. Everyone wanted their own. One wanted PvP, another wanted creative mode, the third wanted hardcore. And everyone thought they had the right to demand it. Every morning started with coffee and an open laptop. Every morning, new pressure. When are you going to fix this? This shit lags. You ruined everything with the update. And in the midst of this chaos, he was alone. Alone against the entire internet. Alone with his code. It was 2010. The game had already been played by hundreds of thousands. It had become a legend among indies. And Marcus couldn't sleep. He would wake up in the middle of the night with the thought that he had broken something in the game, and he would immediately sit down at the computer. His life had become an endless cycle. Code, forum, patch, coffee, code, tears. Journalists started writing to him, but he wouldn't talk. He wasn't public. He never set out to be a CEO. He was just a guy with a good heart who loved to code and build a little world where he could escape from reality. But now that world was consuming him. One of his darkest moments came when a close friend on IRC said, "You need to delegate. You'll break yourself." But Notch couldn't. He didn't trust others. Minecraft was personal to him. It was like giving your diary to a stranger with the right to change something. And then another fight began, not just for the game, but for himself. For the first time, he wondered, what if it wasn't his anymore? What if Minecraft had outgrown him? What if he was stuck in his own pixelated reality, which he no longer controlled? Every update became an act of war. Against criticism, against fatigue, against expectations. He coded for hours without food. He didn't see his friends. He began to doubt everything. That the game was really worth paying attention to. That he himself was not an accident. And it was in that period, in his deepest loneliness, that he decided, either this would break him, or he would come out of it stronger. And so, for the first time in a long time, he pressed pause. He wrote on his blog that he could no longer manage everything on his own, that he was looking for someone to help. He didn't need leadership, he needed support. A co-founder, someone to share this chaos. And it was at this moment that a new name would enter history, Jens Bergensten. A young programmer, talented, quiet, similar to Notch himself, only more steadfast. And from the first day, a tacit understanding developed between them. They both knew what was at stake. Notch gave Jens control of the development, and it was the hardest decision of his life. But at the same time, the only right one. Minecraft was no longer just a game for one person. It became a world for millions. And in order to survive, he had to do the most painful thing, let go. But this pause was not a defeat. It became a new chapter. Because it is in the silence, after the storm, that real music begins to sound. And in this case, it sounded like a mouse click, which became the first block for building a real empire. After Marcus handed over some control to Jens, it seemed like the biggest storm had passed. But Minecraft became bigger than anyone could have predicted. The world of the game exploded. The community grew. Millions of players built, destroyed, invented. And with it, not only the fans grew, but also the legends. That's when Herobrine appeared, a mysterious character with white eyes, who, according to players, appeared in their worlds without warning. We took the first messages as nonsense, tales of night forums, jokes, trolling. But the number of stories grew, and even the developers began to notice them. Marcus often sat in the darkness of his office, staring at the monitor and thinking, what have we created? Herobrine became a symbol of the chaos, the unpredictability of Minecraft. It's no longer just a game. It's a living world with its own mythology, its own shadows. He confessed to himself, sometimes I feel like I let the genie out of the bottle. And he started playing this game more than I did. Herobrine is not just a bug or a myth. He is a reflection of the fear that Minecraft will get out of control, that it will stop being what he intended. At times it seemed eerie to him. Players were looking for a ghost, posting screenshots, writing conspiracy theories. Some in the community believed it was the spirit of the game, trying to warn them about something. Some thought it was a special effect added by one of the modders. But for Marcus, it was a wake-up call. The game had become bigger than him. I remember him saying in an interview, that was the moment I realized that Minecraft is not just code and textures. It's something more. And it's both inspiring and terrifying. The rest of the team felt the pressure too. Jens said, we were trying to keep everything under control, but this ghost. It was a symbol that we were no longer just developers. We were the guardians of the world that others had created. Herobrine's arrival was both a blessing and a curse. It added a mystique to the game that no one could have predicted, but it also meant that every update, every patch, now had to meet not only technical standards, but also the expectations of a legend that had grown on its own. We saw Minecraft become a living organism that didn't always obey the will of its creators. It was a challenge that forced Marcus to reconsider his attitude towards the game, the community, and even himself. And this story was more than just a game. It was about us. about the fear of losing control, about the desire to create something eternal, about fighting our own demons against the backdrop of millions of other worlds. After years of struggle, sleepless nights, and constant stress, Minecraft became more than just a game. It became a cultural phenomenon. As millions of people around the world began playing, creating, and sharing it on YouTube, Twitch, and social media, the Mojang team realized they could no longer remain an indie studio. Pressure was mounting not only from players, but also from business. When Microsoft offered to buy Mojang for over $2 billion in 2014, it was a turning point. For Marcus, it was like a double challenge. He understood that this was an opportunity to take Minecraft to the next level, but at the same time he was afraid of losing the soul of the project. He said, "Selling is not just a business. It's a decision about the future of the game, about who will protect it. I was afraid that a large corporation would not understand that Minecraft is not just a product. It's a community, it's freedom, it's creativity." But the Mojang team was able to maintain a balance. Microsoft provided the resources, support, and technology, while leaving creative freedom to the developers. Minecraft has opened up in new ways: consoles, mobile versions, educational apps, huge updates. The world that once began with a simple idea and a small room of one programmer has become a platform for millions of creative stories. And Marcus? He has stepped away from active development, but he will forever remain the soul of Minecraft. "It was like releasing a child into the world," he said, "and watching it grow, make mistakes, learn, and become something greater than you could have imagined." Summary and conclusion. Minecraft taught us that true power lies in the freedom to create, in a community that supports and nurtures, and in not being afraid to lose control, because sometimes the best thing we can do is let go.